the more you can, I don't want to say eliminate, the more you can tame your ego, the more successful holistically I think you'll ultimately be.
Some people are a much bigger fish, but they're pretending to be smaller. And I think it's always to fit in. I think the ego is always to fit in and to belong. I think it's to belong with self, to belong with others.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode, number 936, Play Life Like a Board Game. Today, for episode number 937, Alan and I are going to do another episode where we just have an honest, open conversation about things. That was one of my favorite episodes we've done in a while, and I think we often go into these episodes with an outline, with a frame, with a story, with a lesson, with everything we want to bring to the audience, but some of the most powerful things we've ever discovered about ourselves and one another has been through organic conversation. So today we're going to have an organic conversation about some things, and we'll name it after we figure out what we talked about. So we don't even have the actual title yet.
So last time, Kev, we went, I think, 3 questions for you, then 3 questions for me. I think we should do back and forth. Also, shout out and throwback to the one and only Conversations Change Lives podcast, the OG, the original. The very first time I ever interviewed Kevin was on a podcast called Conversations Change Lives, and then it was the Conversations Change Lives meets Hyperconscious podcast, then it was the Hyperconscious podcast. Now it's Next Level University. Kind of cool.
Full circle. Full circle. Can I have the first question?
Oh, of course, man. What's up?
Okay. me. Okay, ready? Mm-hmm. What do you believe your life would look like today if you never got in that car accident when you were 26?
Oh, my goodness.
I'm coming with a fire today.
My goodness. I think that the Phoenix, aka the old identity and the old paradigm that burnt down after that car accident, I think that was already happening, but just slowly. So the old paradigm that I grew up in was a pleasure-centered paradigm of a deep belief that life is about fun and enjoying yourself, and aim high and you'll have choices, and Steve Jobs was my hero, and I wanted to be a Fortune 50 CEO of a tech company, and I wanted to, bring technology to the world and all this stuff. I was on my way to being a multimillionaire. I had a beautiful girlfriend. I had tons of high school friends and college friends and corporate friends, and it makes sense because my old belief system was life was about fun and friendship. I used to love the show Friends, and I used to repeatedly watch that show. I still do, but it's not the paradigm I live from anymore. I think my old paradigms that I used to live from were friend-centered paradigm, pleasure-centered paradigm. So a friend-centered paradigm is life is about having a lot of friends. Pleasure-centered paradigm is a deep belief that your life is about fun and enjoying yourself. The part of the paradigm that I was missing was the mission-centered paradigm. I always had a goal-centered paradigm. Aim high and you'll have choices. And for anyone who doesn't know me well and is a new listener, I apologize for not providing a ton of context in this question. But what do I think my life would have looked like had I not gotten in that car accident? I think that I was already slowly realizing that I was living a life not true to my calling, but it was slow instead of it all burning down at once. And so when I was 26, I got in a car accident, and all my paradigms all my beliefs about myself, beliefs about the world, all the ways and the choices I made, and all the parts of me that they were already unlayering. As a matter of fact, the part of my story that I don't often tell is when I got jumped at the Providence Place Mall. One of my best friends and I, at the time, got jumped at the Providence Place Mall on a Sunday by a schizophrenic who didn't take his medication and randomly came up behind us and jumped us, and it was a whole thing. And he later told the cops that we were trying to kill him. But anyways, it was a schizophrenic rage that was kind of random, and that is when I started bodybuilding, because I told myself I was a coward, so I ran, right? You have fight, you have flight, you have freeze, and you have fawn. Those are the fear responses. I chose flight And Kiki, in hindsight, chose freeze. And so Kiki got beaten up. I ran away. I thought Kiki was going to run too because we grew up together. And whenever we heard a coyote in the woods or something, like we would run. And I had a lot of shame around that for a lot of time. I in one of my speeches, I actually showed a picture of him with his black eyes. And if Kodo, this person, had a knife or a weapon, like I'm certain I'd be dead. He punched me right from behind in the face. If he had a knife, he was genuinely trying to kill us. He thought we were trying to kill him. Schizophrenic rage. I won't go deeper than that. But I had shame around that, and I told myself, if that ever happens again, I'm going to fight. I'm going to have courage. I'm going to stay. I'm not going to run away while my friend gets beaten up. And so I was already unlayering the story I was telling myself about myself. So I think that what would have been different is it would have been a much slower progression. I think that I'd be 33 and I'd probably be in corporate America still. But I think that I would have more clarity on my calling than I did back at 26, but I wouldn't have nearly as much as I do now. Because Kev, you and I lose sight of this, but we do this every day. We have deep conversations every day. We mastermind every day, and honestly, it's hard to understand what life would be like without that. I mean, the amount of mentors and masterminds and coaching. I mean, every single day we're talking about life and the human condition and the universe and business and the economy and the government and different countries and different cultures and neuroscience and health, wealth, and love. And it's hard to understand what it's like to not live in that echo chamber for me. So, and I was always kind of that way. I just wasn't doing it as proactively. The Hyperconscious podcast was change the way you think, change the way you act, change the way you live. And that will come full circle in one of the questions I'm going to ask you. But I think you and I have changed the way we think, changed the way we act, and changed the way we lived every single day for the last 5 years. And for me, every day since the last 7 years. So what do I think would be different? I think that I'd still be probably in corporate America. I'd still be on that same growth journey, but a much less accelerated one. I think that really accelerated my self-awareness to a drastic extent. I think that I was very focused on external awareness. I think I understood the world quite a bit. I don't think I understood myself nearly as deeply as I do now. And I also think vulnerability has been a huge increase since then. And I think that's also increased my self-awareness as well.
Fire.
Thank you, brother. Great question.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, so my number one. me. No, I'm just joking. All right, so 3 questions. In hindsight, Kevin,
That's me.
knowing what you know now, what didn't you understand that was genuinely holding you back that you now realize, if you're honest with yourself, you now realize, like, this was really holding me back a lot, even if I didn't know it at the time? And my frame from this question is hopefully the listeners or viewers can see themselves in this, because I do think that some of the things that you fell victim to, for lack of better phrasing, are extremely relatable.
Anything specific that I fell victim to?
The biggest one. In hindsight, knowing what you know now, what was it that was holding you back most that you just didn't know at the time?
I don't want to. I feel like my answer is going to be very similar to what we talked about last time. But do you know the only reason I'm able to help people now more? I mean, one of the main reasons. I won't say it's the only reason. One of the main reasons I'm capable of helping people now at a deeper level is because I believe. I actually believe I know how to help them. And I actually believe that what I'm telling them is humanly possible. That I didn't believe that my life could be better. That is the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing that's always jeffed me. I didn't believe I could be better at baseball. I didn't believe I could get the girl. I didn't believe I could make the money. I didn't believe I could ask the question. I didn't believe I could pass the class. I didn't believe I could go to college. That is the through line of my life. I always talk about that on other podcasts. A lot of people, I know they are stuck in this cycle of not having the people around them believe in them. That has never been a problem for me. I've always had people around me who believed in me. I just never believed in myself. So the biggest thing in retrospect, that was holding me back was I was stopping myself from succeeding because I was not willing to try. I just wasn't willing to try. In the things that I felt like I got lucky with, always ended up burning to the ground. I mean, I told you when I'll never forget this. I was listening to A Day to Remember. Oh, what's the name of this song? Have Faith in Me is the name of the song. I was listening to that song when my ex-girlfriend broke up with me when I lived in New Hampshire. And I remember she left that night. She said, I'm going to go stay at my mom's. And I said, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. When she left, I remember thinking like, I'm grateful that happened because I knew it was going to eventually. Like, at least it happened now because I felt like I got lucky. And that just lack of belief. The lack of belief has jeffed me more in my life than anything else. And it still jeffs me in some ways. Like, I still have insecurities. I still have imposter syndrome. I still have days where I'm getting ready to do a podcast when I think like, can I even do this? Am I capable of doing this? I still deal with that. So in retrospect, that's the biggest thing. And in retrospect, it's something I wish I worked on a lot sooner because I would have way better results than I do now, for sure. Good question.
Quick follow-up.
Please.
I know we got
13 minutes.
13 minutes. Holy crap. Well, it's more than that. No, it's more than that.
You got to call at 1:45.
So we have 17 minutes.
Well, if you want to be off, yeah. I was trying to give you a couple minutes, you know?
Nah, man. We're good. And that's another conversation.
You got any coaching slots available?
Quick follow-up. Why do you think you why do you think you didn't have self-belief? Like, where did...
Nobody around me did. Nobody
around you had self-belief?
No. So I think you adopt what... Like, your mom saying, hey, life is about choices, right? Like, instilling you can do anything you want. You can be a farmer, or you can be a CEO. If you're a farmer, it doesn't necessarily mean you can wake up and be a CEO, but it does work the other way. I didn't get anything like that. Now, my mom and grandmother did the best they could with their beliefs and their confidence levels and their capabilities. They did the best they could. Nobody ever said, you can't do that. You're not capable of that. But I didn't have that environment of belief. It just didn't exist. And then by the time everybody started to believe in me, it seemed like it was kind of a charity thing of, oh, everybody believes in me because I'm the kid without a dad, or I'm the kid who was broke, whatever it was. So it never landed. It didn't seem organic. I couldn't adopt that mindset.
Gotcha.
That's what I'd say. You ready?
I'm ready.
Number 2. Alan is one of the most read humans I have ever had the opportunity and pleasure of meeting. There's many books behind him there, and he learns a lot every single day. What is the hardest thing that one Alan Lazaros has had to unlearn in his life?
What's the hardest thing I have had to unlearn? I had to unlearn. The hardest thing for me, I see the best in people. I see potential in everyone. I just do. I don't know how to explain it. None of what you've accomplished has surprised me. Just so you know. Not even a little bit. Like, I don't even know if I know how to explain it. It's not even remotely surprising. As a matter of fact, you're out here jeffing.
I knew that was coming.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't know how to. I'm the other, but the problem is it comes with a huge weakness because I don't really see the reality. In a way, I see what's possible more than I see what's now, which is wonderful because I can help people grow so much because I see so much in so many people. I see so much potential. And I think that's my purpose, is to help people maximize their potential genuinely, which makes sense. But what that comes with is a really big challenge, which is how do you not want something for someone else more than they want it for themselves? And more importantly, so for example, you were talking about Guess Who on the last episode and how you're like, oh, okay, so there's 30% women and 70% men, so is it a woman or a man? And if it was a woman, now you get to knock down the 70% of the men, and now you have a 30% chance of guessing correctly. or a much better chance, I should say. I don't know how other people think because I've never not thought that way. And so it's almost like it doesn't make sense to me why other people don't believe in themselves because it's so obvious. Like everything you've achieved has always been very obvious to me as achievable. So
Well, would it be without you?
I think that's the problem, is that I don't understand what part I'm playing in that because I don't know what you are like without me.
Yeah.
What is up, you guys? My name is Gabby, and I just want to give a huge shout out to Kevin and Alan for the community that they have created and the mission that they are on over at Next Level University. Never in a million years did I think when I started listening to the Hyperconscious podcast 2 years ago that I would be as invested as I am today. But here we are 2 years later. I have done group coaching. I truly look forward to every single episode they drop, all of the things that they're teaching. And I am now doing one-on-one coaching with Alan to help level up in my business. And all I gotta say about these guys across the board is they are true, genuine souls. They mean it when they say they are heart-driven, and they mean it when they say they are no BS. And I think that's probably my favorite part about them. They get rid of the fluff. They give you tactical tips and tricks to help you level up in your life, to help you make strides towards your goals. And they've created a community of like-minded people to lean on each other at every single stage of life. So guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart for the impact that you have made in my life, and I am so very excited to see the impact and the waves that you make from here on out.
In other words, it's almost like it doesn't click. So if you were to go off for whatever reason, this isn't going to happen, but hypothetical, if you were to like go off and do your own thing, it would surprise me if you didn't succeed. Because it's like you have all the tools. There's no, you are obviously very capable, like seriously. So you've always won at everything you did, like eventually, right? You showed up and you were like pretty great at stuff.
Yeah.
So in my head, it's like, why wouldn't you believe in yourself? You're not any less capable than most people. So it doesn't land for me, but now I think I know why. The fact that you weren't always thinking the way you are now is the thing. That's the thing. Because when Emilia told me this, math and memory. I can memorize a movie seeing it like once. It's like wild. I went through a math book. She has a math book that we were doing math last night, and I went through half the book last night, straight up. And I loved it. And it's an easy math book in my opinion, but I think some of this stuff is stuff most people don't know. And I went through half of it in like an hour, not even probably. But I don't know what it's like to not have that, so I don't know what other people think like. So even last night on group coaching, the monthly meetup, Lynn asked an awesome question. She said like, well, how do I know what the top leverage points are? And I like didn't even know how to answer it because it's like, you just know. But no, you don't just know. You have to figure out what they are by knowledge accumulated over time. So what's the thing I've had to unlearn? I've had to unlearn what I assume other people think like. And I think it comes down to the hemispheres of the brain. I don't want to get too esoteric here, but I'm a very strong left brain thinker. Very rational, very analytical, very strategic, very numbers and math and memory. And I don't really know what it's like not to be like that because I've never not been. And so it's hard for me to understand why other people can't anticipate outcomes and create them and double down on them and achieve their goals. I think that when it comes to success and achievement, it's always come very easy to me, but I didn't know that wasn't normal.
Good answer. Makes sense.
Thank you, brother. Okay, number 2, because we got to crank. Number 2. In hindsight, knowing what you know now, do you think, what do you think is still holding most people back if you were really to be honest about it? What do you think, you've interviewed hundreds of people, millionaires, billionaires, some semi-famous people, some famous people, quite frankly. You've been behind the scenes with people with 50 million YouTube views, and you've been behind the scenes with people who have won fitness shows and people who have achieved their dreams and you've been interviewed by literally hundreds of $1 million net worth people and all that stuff. And that's all awesome. Cool. What do you think in hindsight with coaching people all over the world and all that, all the interviews, what do you think is like holding people back in terms of like, what don't people understand? What don't people understand that you didn't understand either, that now you like get it? You get it now. Like I get it now.
I think their ego. I think most people, I was on a podcast, it was an hour and a half yesterday, which is, I haven't done an hour and a half podcast in a minute. And it was really good. It was awesome interview. And we were talking about ego. And I said, ego is jeffing people. It's kind of like a sickness, but it has a bunch of different symptoms. So whether you're shelling up or whether you're puffer fishing, or whether you think you should be successful without work, or whether you don't believe you'll ever be successful no matter how hard you work, I think the ego is the equalizer. I think it's the barometer. I think it's the float. I think it's the thing that stops people, because you can read all the books in the world. You can study, you can get coaches, you can get lessons, you can get mentorship, you can get everything. But the one thing you can't get is somebody to fix your ego for you, for somebody to become aware of your ego, for somebody to understand your ego better than you. I think ego, whether it's going over 5 to arrogant entitlement, or being under 5 where you're self-conscious and you don't believe you deserve anything, I think that's the biggest thing holding people back. I really, really, really do. It's inaccurate, and this is your 2 favorite words, inaccurate thinking. Everything, if your ego is off by 1 degree, so isn't everything else. Everything is, if not more than 1 degree, because there's layers. So ego, 100%. I go on a lot of shows, and Alan knows this, but for the listeners, I am trying really, really, really hard to just admit how much Alan has helped me and the business. Somebody said, where in 10, 15, 20 years, where is Next Level You? Like, what are you guys doing? And I said, first of all, I have to admit, in honesty, Alan's the one charting the course. So I'll be wherever he decides he wants us to be. That's just me trying to be humble. But I said, we're playing to change the world. Like, I don't know where we're going to be in 20 years. Alan does better than I. I know we'll be changing the world more than we are today. Hopefully times 20 minimum, right? Well, technically more than that, because exponentials and all that happy jazz. But yeah, that ego. Ego is holding you back always. I think ego is always holding you back. Even you and I, who we've worked on it so incredibly hard, we still have, I'm afraid to send this message because my ego is protecting me. Or my ego doesn't want to seem like a dick because I'm just sending somebody the truth, or whatever it may be. The more you can, I don't want to say eliminate, the more you can tame your ego, the more successful holistically I think you'll ultimately be. That's what I would say.
Fire. I think just to really quickly. The T, the I1, and the I2. Some people, the truth is they are a much smaller fish than they're pretending to be. I1 is who you want to believe you are. I2 is who you want others to believe you are. But it also goes the opposite. Some people are a much bigger fish, but they're pretending to be smaller. And I think it's always to fit in. I think the ego is always to fit in. Yeah. And to belong. I think it's to belong with self, to belong with others. And I think it's all a protection mechanism because it's scary being alone. And that's a whole nother episode, so we don't have time for that. But yeah, fire answer, Kev.
I appreciate that. All right, quick. We got 6 minutes before your next call.
Let's do it.
You're 33 years old, Alan.
Mm-hmm.
5 years from today, what advice do you think you would give 33-year-old Alan? So the question I asked Lauren Johnson, I asked her that in the interview. 5 years from today, what advice do you think you would give this version of you?
It's a great question because it breaks the mind. It breaks the ego. It's really good. I'm really grateful. It's a fucking awesome question. Pardon my French. I would say this. I would say, Alan, people don't dislike you as much as they appear to. And time will tell the truth. You just have to trust that. And you need to realize that they're not upset with you. They're upset with their own insecurities and their own choices. And you've been there too. So I tell the story about how when I was really drinking too much and too often, and I wasn't taking my health seriously, and I was in a weird place too, because I went from like the smart kid with straight A's to WPI, which was like everyone was geniuses there. So it was messing with me. And then I went home, and there was a guy by the name of Matt. I'm writing about him in my book, or he's in one chapter of the book, I should say. And I was insecure around him because he was so in shape and so good looking and so charismatic and so confident. And I had such deep insecurity at that time. And I avoided him. I didn't cut him down. I'm proud of that. But I did run away. And I went into a back room, and my buddy Kiki came over and said, "Are you okay?" And I was just contemplating like my life and my choices. And if Matt were to internalize that and say, "Oh, like Alan doesn't like me," that would be false. I don't dislike Matt. I like Matt a lot. As a matter of fact, I ran into Matt a decade later, and he was saying, "Oh my God, those fitness shows you do is so cool. I could never do that." And I was like, "What do you mean? You were the one I was like admiring. Of course you could." And he was still jacked. You could crush it for sure. But again, there's the self-belief thing. So my answer is, at 38 years old, 5 years from today, I would tell me now that your standards for yourself are intimidating, and it's because you have a lot of self-belief and other people might not, and that them avoiding you or being unkind or being playfully jokey towards you or like personal development or your bodybuilder, like all that stuff, it all just comes down to insecurity. And I think deeply underneath it, believe it or not, and this is Alan talking to Alan, 38-year-old Alan would say this: it actually is proof that they do admire you deep down, because if they didn't, they wouldn't be afraid or intimidated. They wouldn't. I think all of us want to be great deep down, and I think we all have greatness within us, and I think that people who are living in their greatness, like one of my clients earlier today, he's got momentum, he's killing it, he's losing weight, he's telling his truth, he's on fire, and the dude loves me, and it's like awesome. Okay, cool. So people that are winning, and succeeding and maximizing their potential love to be around me. People who aren't, don't. And I totally understand, because I've been on that end too. And just don't internalize that as people don't like you, Alan, because that's not true. They just maybe aren't thrilled with their own choices, and you've been there before.
Fire. All right, we got 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes, lightning round. Third question, me. Okay, in hindsight, knowing what you know now. No, seriously, okay. Kevin, if you had a son or a daughter who thought like you used to, what would you say to them if you were certain it would actually land?
The only reason that we are successful and my mother and I can, your mother and I, not my mother, your mother and I can give you the life that we can is because I stopped thinking the way you're thinking right now.
Meaning what way?
Not believing anything is possible, not believing in yourself, not believing you're worth it, not believing you're capable of more. It would be that. It would just be you. The only reason we have the results we have are because I stopped thinking like you're thinking right now. I stopped living in scarcity, and I started focusing on being better. And you can be better. You can always be better. No matter how good you are, you can always be a little bit better. But you got to believe it first. Belief is the root cause of everything for me. I do. I believe that at a deep level. Okay, we got to get Alan out of here. Tomorrow, episode number 938, you must invest in you. If you are listening to this, we might still have a couple of group coaching spots available for Group 6. Also, we're doing a $100 giveaway for the entire month of April for all people that leave reviews. So if you leave a review, you'll be entered in a drawing to win a $100 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is screenshot the review, send it to myself or Alan in any, email, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. Click the link in the show notes. I think it's Next Level University, I Love the Show or something. The link will take you to your platform of choice.
Also, if you want to go deeper, we have a course. The link is in the show notes. It's completely free. Kevin wanted to charge for it. It's a valuable course. It took 12 hours of each of our time, so that's 24 hours of our time focused on adding value. If you love this show, you'll love that course even more. Download that, and yes, I got to jump on my other call.
Next Level Nation, as always, we love you, appreciate you, grateful for each and every one of you. At NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.
Please reach out.